Act 1, New Orleans, Joie de Vivre. Scene 3, Mr. Jean Marr, cast of characters, Jean Marr, early 40s, not a caricature, played by Vash Bodhi. MC, offstage, played by Will Candelaria. Scene, Jean Marr's dressing room at Club My Oh My in New Orleans. Time, early 1950s.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mr. Pat Waters' very smart My Oh My, introducing some of America's most beautiful and talented female impersonators.
She is curtsying and blowing kisses to her audience. She picks up a bouquet of roses from the floor and waves goodbye. She will be transforming from female impersonator to male during the scene.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Jean Marr, the Cuban Nightingale, America's #1 prima donna, Mr. Jean Marr.
It's not every night I get roses, hon. You know, there are authorities on the subject who say I was an essential pioneer in helping to introduce the art of drag, or rather female impersonation, to New Orleans.
Takes off her shoes, rubs her feet, puts on her slippers.
Oh, that's so much better. Mr. Jean Marr. I know, but back then we used our male names. We had to. I like to wear beautiful wedding style gowns, and sometimes wonderfully fancy hats. They were my trademark. Do you know that I was the best female impersonator at the Wonder Club in New Orleans? Yes, it's absolutely true. I was. That was in the early 40s. It's my Cubanness that made me so good. But I can't take all the credit. God did give me a beautiful singing voice. I was what they would call a sopranist, a male who could sing in the high range of a soprano. Some of my most popular arias were The Queen of the Night from De Jola Raha, The Magic Flute, and Mi Chiamano Mimi from La Boheme. When I would sing Indian Love Call, I would hit G6, which is high G above high C. And to rapturous applause, by the way. There was this one time I was singing Ritorna Vettura from Aida in my upper register and suddenly stopped singing mid-lyric. The audience was stunned. After a pause in my low voice, I said, "Don't worry, I'll make it," which got me a great laugh. Then I finished the aria. There were these wonderful posters and signs. They proclaimed the original Wonder Club and restaurant presents America's foremost female impersonators. A gay review. Boys will be girls. And around 1945, the Wonder Club was sold. It became Club My Oh My. The new posters and programs said, "Mr. Pat's Water proudly presents the world's most beautiful boys in women's attire." We boys were a great group, and there was a great group of us. Mr. Jimmy Calloway, Mr. Johnny Brown, Mr. Bobby Lane, oh, and so many more. We all performed a lot, and we sang live. None of this lip sync stuff. After all, we were performers. And we did 3 shows nightly, 10, midnight, and 2, and 4 on Saturday, 10, midnight, 1:30, and 3 in the morning. In between shows, we'd socialize with the audience, which meant sitting and visiting with them. They loved it. My friend, Mr. Bobby Lane, didn't care too much for sloppy drunks. So if it got too bad, he'd bump the table, spilling someone's drink on himself and complaining that his dress just came back from the cleaners. They'd give him money just for the cleaning, just to shut him up. It wasn't long before that divey little joint that sat on pilings in the lakefront became internationally famous. Our audiences weren't all queer either. They came from every walk of life you can imagine and from everywhere. We were even on the Gray Line tours route. Imagine that. And there were the celebrities. We'd entertain the likes of Howard Hughes, Carmen Miranda, Alec Guinness, and Judy Garland, and just to name a few. Sometimes we'd even exchange autographs. And then there were the equally famous gangsters. Frank Costello came in one night with Al Capone's brother, Ralph, and Frank had Jimmy sit on Ralph's lap. Then Frank said to Jimmy, "You're so beautiful. If you was a woman, I'd marry you." Pretty impressive, huh? Look, I'll be right back, hon. I'll tell you something I bet you didn't know. It was so different back then. It was illegal for men to dress as women in New Orleans Parish, except for Mardi Gras and Halloween. That's why Club My Oh My was 15 miles out of town on the parish border over water. It's kind of a no man's land. Well, I should say no cops land. There were plenty of men. Just no cops. Well, some cops, but that's a whole nother story. Even so, life as a female impersonator could be dangerous. You never knew when somebody might get aggressive with you. Some of the boys, as feminine as they appeared, were tough and scrappy under those dresses and wigs. You didn't want to mess with them, not with bricks in their purses.
Jean, emerging from the dressing screens, is very dashing, dressed in a suit, shirt, tie, shoes, evening scarf, and carrying a fedora.
There, now I'm legal. The Club My Oh My burned down in 1948, but was rebuilt right away. We boys kept on entertaining night after night. But years later, 1972, long after I was gone, early one January morning, it was completely destroyed by fire. The girls lost all their gowns, jewelry, wigs, everything. Sadly, that was the last time they didn't rebuild. It was the end of Club My Oh My, the end of an era of talented, glamorous, fashionable artists. We made history. Though that era may be gone, my dears, it will never be forgotten.
When somebody loves you, it's no good unless he